information I checked while I was traveling was clearly very wrong. The TikTok Psychics trial did 2 days. Months ago. It's like, yeah, it's an item. So I'm gonna sitting here just going logistic stuff. This is so far the item. It's like 5.5 hours away. So I have plans of the garden. They drive each way just to cover this trial. Top of America. I should have planned this better. I was trying to upload a single day and some days. So I just didn't think to check how close the trial was to the item. This is such a rookie mistake. I'm an idiot. It's 6 p.m. now. 2 hours. Something about here, and I go see how. And it's not 5 hours. It's 7 hours. And I'm not. So it starts. So I need to be there. So 6. Stick my bag. Sorry, nice out here. Alright, so we are currently stop. Yep. That's what I'm still have sleep. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I'm not swamp driving. Started snowing really on the so I'm driving this area called Salmon Steam slush, and this car was great until we got it on snow. Should I check my tire? Check my seasons. You can definitely tire off. You get it on snow. Alright, so it's safe to say the massive cold and the energy drink is currently saving me. 3 hours left, and then hopefully I can get sleep. I have to get up for the trial tomorrow. It's been an adventure, a little bit of an unexpected adventure, but onward. Slowly jinxed myself. I was like, oh, yeah, we went. It's staying. It's like, it's still snowing. It's not bad. It got so much worse. Snow. This is basically just like full-on blizzard. It's summer tires. It's eco-friendly summer tires, which are like super thin. So, sledding to northern. Yeah, I think 10 hours later. So what's up? So it's 3:08 a.m. right now. So, hours, get some sleep. So see you guys tomorrow. Check the menu again. Check the menu. Drunk the blizzard to get all the way up here. On the opposite side of my life. I started 7 hours just to be in the right spot. I took a voluntary 14-hour detour. Just disappointed myself. This was an extremely expensive video to make, and wow, someone was self-inflicted. Just try my best. I do want to give a special thank you to the sponsor, Expedition Across America, to make this video. Because every year, it's miss out on billions of dollars in savings if they just apply discount code to the public. The problem is, most people take ages to find. Thankfully, Cooper percentage is applying. It's working through cashback stores. So, to save money. So the first one being, like this, purchase hundreds of thousands of best deals and products. And second, it runs coupon for 3 retailers to make sure you're the best possible price. And also offer cashback rewards for retailers, which you can straight to your bank account. Sports and Safari. Top Cooper is a trusted source for shoppers, and they work with merchants globally to bring you best deals and savings. And pilot score with that. So that sounds like a win to you. Can Cooper click the description now. So thank you again to Cooper Bank for this expedition, but let's continue the video. So they shifted. Right. So Zoom day 2, 3, 4. So go to Scout tonight. University is where all of this started. So we'll get some. Should make this area, but I'm excited actually. Time just see. Last night saw a blizzard blowing snow at me and just darkness. So I'll be to see the scenes. I don't check for yeah, I was reading something January where they trials supposed to be here. It's not though. So it's just a big lesson that I got to use across my eyes. Dot my eyes and cross my T's. Wait, let's start this 7 drive down. Just now eco-friendly summertime. So it's gonna take a whole lot of 7 hours. So it's a whole longer 7 hours to get out there. Just having this detour and seeing the memorial still in it's hard. It honestly just makes me so much angry. TikTok psychic for Ashley Gill decided to take this big tragedy, make it about herself. It seems like all she wanted was solve the crime. And instead of solving the problem, all she did was slander an innocent university professor that taught at the school where this tragedy happened. Yes, that's how I ended up to the state and realized I need to get back down to the side of the state for court. If you didn't know, my name is Arling and I'm obsessed with covering stupid and overall bizarre situations because this is all. So if you want to come on, subscribe because I upload every single day on the channel. So at this point in time, TikTok psychic has ran out of excuses because her defamation case is finally going to and now jury cards is about to decide her fate. Story. She's winning it. Everyone is accusing a university of to Moscow Island. Cease and desist letter. He actually pleaded guilty last year. Damages trial is finally. How is this going to sub TikTok psychic? Well, let's get into it. So, first, Gilliard to do in federal court. See, item this trial resolve a civil lawsuit. Now, judge said that Rebecca Schofield, she put posted dozens and eventually accusing her 2 months ago. Due to a string of development being unsolved to the advisor students, a professor at the school is now suing a TikTok creator for the extent of plaintiff's damages, if any, is an issue for trial. This is important because that is not deciding what is deciding which was like against her. This damages trial is on the his accusations took Schofield's personal life. Yes, earlier the report witnesses are expected to testify. Schofield therapist for the past 2 years, a publication specialist, speak on the emotional damage that the professor took. This video that she speculated even she needed someone for, and if you think that she regrets that now, no, she absolutely does. This video, 2-page.
Everything that I'm saying, everything is in the act. Anybody who doesn't care about spiritual wisdom is anything to evidence. You can, if you have subpoena, builds electronics.
So yes, even months after this trial, she publicly accused the University of Idaho history professor Rebecca Schofield of having a secret romantic relationship and planned to keep that relationship from public. This video is still up. She's still also calling for people to try to subpoena Rebecca Schofield. Why? Well, obviously after made on her and even showing up in this entire court experience, I couldn't, because she nor I am able to tell you she would do something this stupid and random. Questioning the story of the professor sound a little bit, it's because it seems like it's the exact same storyline as How to Get Away from season 1. So this woman is just insane and is LARPing as some sort of TikTok psychic. Fanficking herself into a professor. Well, that's the pick she's gotten herself into. And honestly, it's hard to say anything else but a massive skill issue, because she treated this whole story like some extract fan fiction. It's pretty much a direct accusation. And Schofield served as a chair of the University of Idaho History Department. And any of these 4 students, she had never taught them. She was not connected to them. So finally, she and her husband were upstate in Oregon, visiting friends the night. Despite that, videos continued. Schofield sent cease and desist letters to failure to remove content and stop making the accusations. The letters, as we've already, and the court described it as plaintiff sent cease and desist letters to the defendant in the weeks. When the defendant did not stop, plaintiff initiated this action. So on December 21st, 2022, Schofield filed a federal defamation lawsuit in the District of Idaho, and Gilliard did not. Now, in fact, she publicly stated that it would eventually side with her. Yes, tarot cards to accuse the professor thought that a jury actually side with her. Also, in the middle of all this, while Gilliard was still insisting her psychic readings somehow uncovered the truth, law enforcement actually arrested the actual. So 9 days after Schofield's defamation lawsuit, law enforcement arrested the suspect, Biz, State University graduate student, and he was taken into custody and charged of the 4 University of Idaho students. So at that point, the online speculation from Ashley should have stopped, but it didn't. All the criminal case began moving from the state court. The civil case against Ashley Gilliard continued, and Gilliard kept saying in her psychic readings that she'd uncovered. And obviously, years passed as both these cases went on separately. Prosecution moved trial hearings, discovery battles, and motions. And at the same time, the lawsuit kept moving as well. Then finally, in June of last year, this reached its end. Brian Cobra taken the lives of the 4 University of Idaho students. He also waived his appeal rights, and he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms in prison with the possibility. Rightfully so. Finally, Mr. was locked up. But meanwhile, keep in mind that throughout the whole civil litigation between the professor and Ashley Gilliard, one of her hang-ups was that the defamation case, somehow depended. Okay, so that was proven. She was wrong. There's a dude currently doing life in prison ×4 right now. So I guess the whole thing that Rebecca Schofield thing, that's just in her own head. Because, you know, the civil lawsuit has nothing to do with is guilty or not guilty. The suit was about how guilty stop harassing someone online to the point that damages actually had to be sought. To lawsuit, it says the plaintiff established a reasonable likelihood of evidence that his conduct is plaintiff of an affair with a student for ordering that student students is oppressive, fraudulent, malicious, and or Small Gilliard, for some reason, is still trying to prove how her is right. Is actually just trying to decide how much of a harasser she is. And obviously, it didn't help when the man responsible actually confessed. So there was no conspiracy or secret professor. It's crime. There's no evidence tying Schofield to any relationship, any planning, or any connection whatsoever. And the judge later described Gilliard's claims of having support. And obviously, this is a defamation case, so truth is an absolute defense. So if Gilliard has evidence that her claims were true, that would have, you know, ended the court. Instead, it found support was spiritual intuition tarot cards. I wish I was joking, because the court had already ruled in her proceedings in quote, intuition, even summoned by one's spirituality, does not make a legal claim plausible. So, in case you're wondering, no, someone dies. So, by the time Coop case enforcement had said from the beginning, Micah Schofield was never a suspect. But by then, the civil case between the professor and Ashley was already okay, and the federal judge had the biggest rulings in the case. So on 6th, 2024, this magistrate judge issued a partial summary against ruling that Ashley Gilliard named Rebecca Schofield. So in civil procedure, summary judge actual issue that needs a jury to decide on life. The court found the statements to be false and defamatory. Gilliard argued that her statements were true. You know, because of course she did. Why would she ever change her stance? Ever. Some people do not admit when, because it seems like it's just impossible for Ashley to do the simple thing of admitting that she's wrong and apologizing to the professor. And of course she kept going on by insisting that she spiritual Christian. I mean, she is literally until proven innocent in a civil case where she's the defendant. It doesn't make sense. You're on trial here. The court rejected that. 6. The burden shifted to Gilliard to present evidence creating a genuine dispute of fact. She couldn't do whatsoever other than whip out terror in her own spiritual intuition. Record at this point. So with no tying Schofield basis for relationship, the public accusations met the definition of defamation, and that was the only she got hit with today. The judge also granted Schofield permission to seek punitive damages, and for not. So at this point, the case is no Schofield. No, the only thing left is how much money Ashley owed Schofield, professor. Except the rule violently. No, except it violently. Instead, she kept filing. Set aside the decision to dismiss the case for lack of jurisdiction and alter, and I guess to argue it's biased and had violated First Amendment rights. And of course, all of those efforts were denied. Shocker. Now you may be First Amendment rights does she think has been violated? Well, she thinks they've improperly evaluated her spiritual use. Does that mean that she's taking the freedom stance for her tarot cards? I wish I was joking. So in her response to her claim that Rule denounced her and violated the separation state, the said, to be clear, takes no position on defendant spiritual beliefs, but where those beliefs manifest in unlawful action, regulated to bystander status simply because the unlawful action might have a spiritual beginning. I'm getting a headache reading this. Like, you can't get the ability because your spirit told you to do so. That just doesn't make sense. What are we doing here? Like, she also sought to delay the damages trial while pursuing an appeal. Those efforts were thankfully as well. While she was, I guess, putting it for delay, she was also posting videos like this.
Execute Idaho. Yeah. Once they are going to come out, he's going to surrender. It may seem like it's going to be really him, but they're going to be able to do it without further damage or deadly force. Prison. When he's in prison, he's going to explain to them why he did what he did. He's going to say that he was wrapped up in rings and he had problems continuing to study, finding a place to stay, too many issues and challenges that was getting exposed in jail if he was killed. Two, that turned into the fourth. That's just time and very confinement. Anything else happens.
Ma'am, this is the content that got you into the law. So it's definitely hard to feel recycling the content that started years of accusations, rule denials, and a criminal case that's already entered, 4 sentences. So I guess what's left is to see what actually happens in the damages hearing. And spoiler alert, it seemed like Ashley was still trying to it's like she was gonna prove that the professor committed the tragedy. Still can't get over it. She was completely innocent. And now I guess the jury just has to agree she has to pay the professor. And whatever that number, it will be the final chapter of this case that started with tarot cards and ended. Okay, so let me explain why I accidentally drove 15 hours around Idaho. So back in August of 2025, the court issued its order noted that this other one parties, the trial would take place in court. So naturally, that's where everyone assumed it would be. Well, the same day, shot to both sides and basically said, "Hey, do you guys want to hold some boys dead?" And the plaintiff quickly, Ashley did not respond. So on August 20th, and said, "As of now, it's inclined to file in Idaho." Ms. Gilliard, please let me know. It's 27th. Is the trial taking place in Boise? Respond. Understand that you is the trial taking place in Boise. So very simple. Instead of responding with fine, she responded that she stipulates to have the trial in Houston, Texas instead. What's happened? She slandered the Idaho. That's the problem when you present yourself because essentially the professor's lawyers are playing chess with a pigeon. It's hard to win with a pigeon because regardless, walk all over and defecate on it. And that's exactly what she does throughout this entire court proceeding. The arguments from Ashley do not make sense whatsoever, and the judge is just way too lenient. Even before the physical hearing started, the judge was way too lenient. Regardless, after Ashley said that she wanted the court to be held in Texas, they announced that it would take place in Boise, Idaho. So it started February 24th, 26 at 9 in the morning. So yes, the reason I flew into Boise, found out it was supposedly in Coeur d'Alene, then drove across Idaho, and it was actually back in Boise, is because of that weird period where the communication wasn't locked in, and Ashley wasn't responding clearly. She was trying to use Texas. So that's how I ended up. So I accidentally put some documents that were slightly a little bit outdated. Honestly, I'm here Bob Ross for a moment to say that's just a happy accident because I would have never seen Coeur d'Alene like the beautiful life see all the way up to and without that mistake. So I just call it accident. That's how I quit driving for 14 hours without technical 14 hours. In a blizzard, but regardless, in the story how can you online Zoom court and obviously the TikTok psychic Ashley Gilliard sitting there because she accused Steve Idaho frustrating student and of course having a relationship with the student and she it fact again it's being tarot cards and the craziest part is even inside the court after everything is said and done she still refuses to admit she was wrong so this could no be called a misunderstanding and what was about to witness thing I've ever seen in my entire life. All right, good morning from James. Hey, see what happens. TikTok case. Currently in the bathroom because they're spraying. This case is crazy. I was not expecting to sit up there Stan, number one, examine herself and continue to state that she believes that Rebecca Schofield is behind all of this. Right, so we just got out and it's safe to say that was a disaster. It's crazy. That happened. Crazy amount of. I can't. It's definitely not. It's very adamant. Seems to be very adamant. Schofield still did this, even though the guy who did it has already been arrested. Okay, this is a defamation damage trial, meaning liability. That's already happened. Solve the answer one question. How much money do you owe telling the internet someone is a and they clearly do that. And they did so repeatedly with zero evidence. Well, that's what we're going to find out. So you have the plaintiff, Professor Schofield, did TikTok psychic or self-proclaimed TikTok psychic, Ashley Gilliard. And yes, Ashley represents herself. That becomes important because it gets verified. And remember, I am presenting massive amounts of information here, so I will be paraphrasing it only after this video. If you want the what was actually said in court, I do my notes on the stream each day. It's long. So insanely. So I'll link the description down below. So the theme of day one is essentially actually the TikTok psychic examining Professor Schofield. And then it's destroyed by videos. So it doesn't end well for her. But to start things off, actually it's very aggressive. Because when I was in Professor Schofield stand and Ashley was questioning her. So day one of the actual trial selection down. But that day starts with Ashley cross-examining Schofield. Ashley asks, so concerned about the investigation? Schofield says no. She encouraged them to investigate because she had nothing. The concern was wasting resources. Ashley doesn't like that answer, so she asks again. Schofield repeats, innocent investigation, but she was worried about wasting resources because there's nothing to find there. And again, Ashley has zero proof that would even investigation. So Ashley then snaps and goes, answer the question. And she kept doing this a lot. And that is, again, Ashley, the person who's writing herself, not the judge asking, to answer the question. No, it's Ashley. And it's just such a bad look because you have the defendant bring the witness around in front of the jury. And she keeps on asking, like she's trying to force Schofield and saying, yes, I was terrified because I actually did it, which obviously would never happen. Then Ashley pivots this angle possible. She tries to argue that Schofield wasn't harmed because she had support. In quote, did you have the support of the teacher union? And Schofield's like, I don't know how to quantify support. So Ashley then keeps asking it in different ways, like some NPC. It's like the devs only gave her one line here. But then Ashley introduces the GoFundMe. This professor raised $22,741. Ashley starts really hammering in. Ever read patient comments? She also asks, why didn't you feel to read them? And said what? And Schofield then says, because she was taking a break from the internet during this. Very good reasons. And she says that some of the comments were for to. So Ashley then into made the go. So this is someone from the University of Idaho. And Schofield says it was 1% employed in the university system. Ashley is clearly trying to imply that institutional support for some reason means it's ever done. But the jury is sitting there. Does this change the fact that you love her? Like, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know. Regardless, Ashley then switches things up into the whole so Ashley then spends the next 15 minutes trying to box Schofield into various admissions. You said no TikToks, and Schofield named them, and she goes on to say, you that I didn't threaten children. And she said, threats, no explicit threat, because you acknowledge that I didn't threaten physical harm. And Schofield replied, you didn't state specific intent for physical harm, but your accusation was alarming. alert. And Ashley keeps trying to force the, so you admit no threat. And Schofield, someone is falsely accused of explicit threat to feel safe. But Ashley then responds, then murdered my socials. As if that has anything to do with the situation. And Schofield then responds that she doesn't even TikTok, she was seeing what people were sending her. So Ashley then tries to spin the social media lockdown as Schofield's choice, and it was not forced. And Schofield lied. She privatized because she wanted to stop the pictures of her kids being widely online and safe, and chose to not be on social media because of this. Then there was a key moment where Ashley says, "I didn't accuse you of being a S," and Schofield accused me of a relationship with a student. That implies abuse. That's the point. And at that point, the entire court sitting there like, I cannot reiterate enough how much of a train wreck this was. Like, this is the biggest train wreck I've ever seen in my entire life. And yes, I was there for cases with Smalley out in South Korea. This infinitely tops that. This is basically a spectacle unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. Part have the Professor Schofield damages plus treatment start, because Schofield's attorneys connects damages to medical, and Schofield says the symptoms got bad in December of 2022, and then started in 2023, and it's still on. Ashley then tries to nitpick diagnosis versus symptoms for like, and Ashley was being extremely honest here, and it looked very much like the professor was reliving trauma in a day. Like, it's clear. Ashley caused some stress and trauma which required treatment to Schofield. After Schofield stepped off of the stand, you could see how much relief she had when she did so. The professor stepped down, Ashley then took the stand, and the court watches her TikToks on one of the. And now, Wendy Olson, who is Professor Schofield's attorney, questions Ashley. So, establishes Ashley knows TikTok. She knows hashtags. She knows how the discovery system works. She has a posting strategy. And then they start playing Ashley's video. And it's worse, and a court can't hide it. It's just content. Because the text on the screen for each TikTok is something like, the two people who partnered, the four students, Rebecca Schofield, and students who's traumatized from all this, who actually also just slander without any proof whatsoever. Then, you know, titled, "Hear What Say Jack and Rebecca, Haley and the Others." Haley is one of the victims who is no longer with us today. Rebecca isn't remorseful. Rebecca is going to prison whether you like it or not. And if you thought it was hard to watch those TikToks on a computer, imagine how to watch them as a judge staring, as the entire jury staring, and all officers' family members are right there watching as well. It was a silent court. That was awkward. Then the questioning started from Wendy, and through that, Ashley admits on the stand that she never met Professor Schofield, never met Jack. She had no contact, and she still put. Then Ashley tried to claim that the video manipulated to make her sound worse. So they play the video again and ask her if she thought that they were edited, and she said, "Oh, I don't know." And of course, the jury watches her say all this. It was just so pathetic to see. Well, it gets worse because Wendy then brings up the cease and desist demand, and in that demand, they just ask for the videos to be taken down, to stop doing this, and apologize. I think we all remember Ashley's response to this because she posted that video telling the professor to AMA, and then of course she uploaded another video. She was like, "I found a good place for the demand letter." She put toilet paper, and she was like, "I can wipe my." And of course, that video had like 11,000 likes, and I'm sure that was 11,000 people who just couldn't wait to see this lawsuit when it. But it's safe to say the silence in the court is ringing. But of course, things just keep. It's because she then starts interviewing herself. So this is kind of like this weird situation that can have someone representing themselves. They essentially have like role play as their attorney and themselves on the stand to answer the questions. But they are sitting on the stand. So they kind of have to do this weird thing where they go, question, and then they have to, like, LARP as their lawyer, and then they go, answer, and express themselves. So she starts questioning herself. Why did you post those videos? Because a TikTok user requested a reading. She then explains her process, and I guess she starts going into tarot cards, and she kept showing that tarot cards kept showing history. So she went to the University of Idaho history department for some reason. She wrote faculty names that she got off the website, and then decided to do tarot and of each of them. And when she got to Schofield, the card said Schofield. So that's why she made 100 videos accusing this innocent professor of orchestrating this awful tragedy. But not only that, she also alleged that Schofield had a relationship with a student and orchestrated all of this to cover. And then on top, she also on the stand admitted that she posted this because she believed the public needed to know. And of course, the judge had to reject and against the jury. This is just a state of mind. In fact, obviously, this is not evidence. After that extremely process, Ashley stops questioning herself. Wendy, who's Professor Schofield's attorney, has the whole eyes widen when she repeatedly asks the question, do you have a single fact? Because Ashley couldn't answer that question. And she continues with, serious, right? Ashley answers, yes, you knew that when you posted those videos, right? Yes. What facts did you have linked Schofield to what happened? And then Ashley says, psychics don't facts. They go off intuition. So, Wendy then asks, so you did no due diligence? And Ashley goes, correct. Did you verify Schofield discount when this happened? No. Tarot cards said she ordered, so I didn't need to. That's her defense. I didn't check because my tarot card said so. She admitted to this on the stand. And then Ashley started implying that sealed documents would prove she was actually right, but she admits that she doesn't have any of the documents. So the defense is essentially, the evidence exists in spirit realm. Something like I was stun locked when I left the course. That was the end of day one. And this is my reaction a little bit after. I just got out of the most recent TikTok psychic court case a couple hours ago, and it was infinitely insane than I could have ever imagined. So she accused the professor of this, and she also accused the ex-boyfriend of victims for being the one who actually went through and did it all. And she spent over, I think it was about an hour, essentially interviewing herself on the stand, which was crazy. So it's safe to say today went awful in court. She even broke down in tears at one point, and then while playing the TikTok for slandering the, she started smirking. Okay, so we're now at like day 3 of the psychics trial, and it's safe to say today's going to be very interesting. Because yesterday, honestly, I still have whiplash from it. So how can it get worse? I have a feeling it's going to get worse, though. And between the days, this case just gets uglier and uglier. It's all downhill from here. And remember, this case, again, isn't about some single slip-up. No, it's about volume, repetition, and the refusal from Ashley to stop. Because even after all the warnings, the cease and desists, the takedowns, a lawsuit, and an arrest in the Idaho case, Ashley kept insisting that Schofield straightened everything. And I hope feel how awkward it was in that court video. Everyone, especially the jury, this was real life. Actually, also, while do stuff late at night, arguing and trying to fight PTSD and cherry picking and instruction patterns, which I guess fits her whole strategy, which essentially was deny the harm assist, deny that she's responsible, and pretend that she used tarot cards. That makes it a stated she said, because she spent most of day 2 essentially telling the mental professional diagnosed the professor PTSD that she couldn't possibly have diagnosed her with PTSD because it just doesn't make sense. She kept on bringing up the DSM-5 and going, if we go DSM-5, she doesn't PTSD. And it just showed the jury that she was just a bully. Stop at anything to, I guess, dispute. But here's me after day 2. So, did you try to destroy the life of this professor with zero proof? Yeah. That's a good question. We're in public. today was honestly equally as insane or more insane than yesterday. So she questioned mental health paper for 1 hour. And this isn't just like a paper, it's actually like, it's 4 different sentences. And she kept on trying to have them read it out loud so she could like try to find some like way around to be like, no, actually, she didn't have a valid diagnosed with PTSD. It was insane. It was sickening to watch. And then they brought on the mother of the professor to testify how much her had been suffering from this and how she'd been suffering from PTSD and anxiety and chronic stress after this happened. And as she then decided to start asking her questions of, well, are you a mental health professional? You know that she's actually stressed. The whole thing so insane to watch. So now it's the final day, and Ashley doubles down. The jury finally gives their response, and I guess it all opens saying that she accidentally saw a local case, and Ashley tries to have the jury. Argument was, well, it refers to me as famous. Not that it prejudiced the juror, not that it contained facts, no. Just, it called. I mean, this is kind of like the brain operating system dealing with here. It just does not make sense whatsoever. You felt insane from being in the presence of her. Regardless, so the plaintiff rests, and the judge asks Ashley, and Ashley goes, I will call myself. And fun fact, like in the docket, right? You had to state your witnesses. So the professor actually stated witnesses. You had to go and testify for her. And Ashley, she had one person. She wrote a whole bunch of times. So she wrote her name. Ashley Gilliard, witness 1. Witness 2, Ashley Gilliard. Witness 3, Ashley Gilliard. Witness 4, Ashley Gilliard. So it's safe to say no one was surprised when she went, I will, myself. So she gets sworn in and brings notes. And the judge does definitely note that it's very unusual for a witness to bring a laptop. Because most people don't really, witness stand like a laptop. So Ashley then testifies about her. So she says her business income, which I says that's 20. She's also on disability, which is around $1,000 a year. So then she starts asking herself questions about why she's on a disability, and she goes into her history. She says that she has PTSD, percent disability, and describes her spiritual. So she says that she went to, and then she explains how she trained herself with tarot, pulling. She was crying, and the cards were saying that she was predicting Tourette with tarot. Then she brings this whole like intuition versus GPS, where it's following GPS. I guess the GPS saying it was the right road. She knew. And then she had a whole intuition versus tire pressure. She felt like slow. Tire pressure sensor was saying they were fine. They were in fact. So because of the experience, she believes she's a psychic. That actually could have been there before. It's on the road. That maybe the car felt a little bit off when the tire pressure was low. I know, she must clearly be psychic. It's all just so insane. So she then tries to introduce Exhibit 20, a text message to her objection, which says this is state of mind. Then Exhibit 507, situation. Objection, 7. Again, state of mind only. So, again, and truly named all shenanigans from Ashley. She continued going. She brought. Again, at the end of the day, she introduced proofs that you can accuse someone of. It only proves that you believe. But of course, it's getting worse because now time for Ashley Plus LLC called Fantasyland. So Ashley introduces Exhibit 504, and it is. She calls basically rocks and claims criminals to know. She calls herself Ashley God. Claims that she has access to information she wouldn't experience it. And of course, then had to jury spiritual that issue. Again, she a professor? What if she did this or not? Actually, for some reason, seems to still in this court. Ashley, she accused the professor. So Ashley then gets to the says she wanted to investigate. She claims that she gave after said Schofield suspect. So she says once she got sued off Schofield, meaning accused first and then investigate later. She lists her attempts, which is apparently a FBI tip email to videos, and then she subpoenaed Meta connections. She also requested Moscow police. She petitioned a county for sealed documents. She also filed motions for records, bank records, DNA, and so on and so on. And obviously, those were all sentence, but she then goes, no, so I took tuition. That's not, that is negligence through. She talked, seemed more, she looked herself as the center of the universe. So then she goes down, actually, then I guess trying to claim she posted 20 to 30 that were 60 seconds each, like 30 minutes in total. Just hilarious. Plaintiff's exhibit is so essentially she's trying to rewrite the scale of time. And I guess that was cool. She stopped questioning herself, and her real attorney actually got Wendy started cross-examining her and started Ashley's book details. So obviously you have the LC show, which is Ashley Gilligan's in Fantasyland C, and then Ashley go. And then Wendy pulls up herself last year or so. She was getting her nails done. She was at the day. She was the Amalfi coach. She was in Naples. And then of course Ashley had this like hand video, and Ashley's response to that was, oh. And then asked, okay, because apparently she was this time. She was saying, it's in 2021. Let's see. This is the 12. She was made 20. She was living a super life while slandering this innocent professor. And alright, but actually, she came back to the U.S. for the checker, and this was Wendy's point. And it's understood. Travel is her lifestyle. To the timeline. So first, a TikTok naming Schofield is November 2nd. So the next day, she posts Schofield's content, and then that subpoena, which was like trying to find evidence, that came in 10 minutes later. So the judge told Ashley how she didn't do it. She also chose to keep posting accusations, and then Wendy goes for fiction here to tell her. She says it's terrible. It's opinion. Wendy said. She says no. Doesn't make sense whatsoever. Damages. This isn't about damages. It's been months, and I'm still. Exhibit 13, which is 57 pages. 2 videos are on each page. So if you do the 57 times 2, it's 15. Actually, then try